Good evening. I'd like to welcome all of you that are here with us in the Commissioner's Auditorium. And I understand we have a few people downstairs. We have our emergency center open downstairs, not because it's an emergency, but that's where we have enough chairs for people to sit. So they should be aware and they are able to hear us. And if any of them wish to speak, they will have an opportunity to come up. They'll just have to let us know. They know, excuse me, they have a way to do that. I'll call our meeting to order. Let's have our roll call, please. Okay, we'll have our invocation and pledge. Our invocation by Commissioner McLaughlin, and Ms. Huggins will do a pledge. If you'll please stand.
Chair, we begin with a moment of silence for the victims of the Virginia Beach killing, please. Gracious Father, we come at this time to tell you thank you. We thank you to God for life, health, and strength. We ask that you bless this meeting, help us to make the decision that will be pleasing to thee. These blessings we ask in thy holy name. Amen.
Amen. Face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We open our annual budget public hearing each year with an overview of this year 1920's proposed budget, and our manager, Scott Elliott, will do that. From here,
Approve the agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry, we need to approve the agenda.
Move to
I'm gonna have
approve the
put that
agenda.
on my eyeballs. Okay, all in favor of the agenda being approved, please vote. Okay, the agenda is approved, and we will move forward.
Okay, I'll go to the podium if that's okay with the board.
Yes. Tag team.
Well, good evening. Tonight, obviously, is the public hearing on the proposed budget for fiscal year 1920, 2019, 2020. Before the commissioners, you will find three different documents. One is the PowerPoint that will be displayed on the monitors in the room, in the monitors before the commissioners. Attached to that is also a larger copy of the CIP, the Capital Improvement Plan that was discussed back in January, just for reference. There's a smaller version in the PowerPoint, but the larger one you can see more readily available. You then have the budget message, which is basically the formal budget document or message that describes the process of developing the budget, the county, what's funded, highlights, and so forth, as was recommended in the original budget and then adjusted based upon the board's input through the various budget workshops you've held in the month of May. The last document you have before you is the budget ordinance. The budget ordinance is the official legal document that at which point in time you decide to adopt the budget, appropriates, identifies the expenditures, and then appropriates the revenues for a balanced budget for all expenditures based upon, at this point in time, a $251 million overall operating budget for Pitt County government. So going back to the PowerPoint presentation, I'm going to kind of give a brief recap of where we've been, where we are, and then hopefully maybe some indication of where the board may be going with this proposed budget. So the next slide. These are your priorities as historically identified and voted on by the board: education, public safety, economic development, human services, facility and space needs, infrastructure improvements, and recreational activities in priority order. And we try to, when budget recommendations are being made each year, we try to keep this in mind in terms of making recommendations for funding allocations. In terms of guiding principles, as we previously discussed, these are made, the requests are evaluated against those goals just read, those priorities. We try to continue with the base budget, looking at what base was created in the year before, then building upon that. Not to say that a base can't necessarily be decreased. If a need for an area decreases or goes away, or if grant funding is lost and the board decides not to continue that, doesn't mean that the base is always continued. We propose to retain service levels of county government with increased cost to maintain the base. We'll have a continued reliance on the fund balance appropriation and utilization, basically appropriating enough fund balance to balance the budget, but then knowing that the county will not spend all of its budgeted expenditures, and those dollars will fall back as has been done historically over time. And then the last and most important point, having a balanced budget where our revenues meet our expenditures, and that by the end of the year that we are have a budget that has less expenditures than revenues because of that fund balance appropriation I just alluded to. In terms of budget highlights, this budget, as it stands today, calls for a 3-cent ad valorem tax rate adjustment, a 0.3 cent increase to the industrial development tax, and we've split that out this year in terms of identifying industrial development separate and apart from the general ad valorem tax rate. Continue to increase funding for Pitt County Schools and Pitt Community College, and there'll be more on that in a few minutes. It increases staff for the Sheriff's Office, Social Services, Public Health, Industrial Development Commission, and Solid Waste and Recycling. It also includes a market adjustment for half a year for the workforce beginning in January of 2020 at 2%, and continues our pay-for-performance system. In terms of the revised recommended budget, revised from what was originally recommended to you prior to the beginning of your budget workshops, what we started with in the current year, we're standing in the current fiscal year that ends at the end of this month on June 30th, is a budget that totals $235,651,070. The recommended budget, again, as revised via the budget workshops and the input you provided, recommends a total budget of $251,125,894, and that represents a 6.57% change. On the next slide, within the general fund, which is the major operating fund of the overall budget that the ad valorem tax rate is based upon, because the ad valorem tax is the largest funding source within the general fund. We started out the gate in terms of all of the requests for the new year. The new year begins July 1, 2019, runs through June 30th of 2020. We had $188,478,083 worth of requests. I reduced $10,455,139. We basically had, to boil it down to a different way of looking at it, we had $16 million worth of overall funding request, whether from internal agencies and or external agencies. And if we were to have said, okay, we'll fund all of those, that would have been the equivalent of a 12-cent ad valorem tax increase. But historically, there's always many, many more requests than are accommodated through the budget process. The revised recommended has $178,022,944 of expenditures. And this is based upon a tax rate of 71.9 cents, a little shy of 72 cents. It has the 3-cent rate adjustment, and it also includes a $4 million fund balance plug that was mentioned earlier. The fiscal year 18-19 adopted budget was $166,662,791. This represents a 6.82% change year over year. The revisions to the budget coming out of the budget workshops to date, we added 4 additional positions in DSS based upon the drawdowns of federal and state funding that allow those positions to cost the county less money than a typical department where the positions are 100% county funded. We are going to continue the funding for the two community social workers in public health for the infant mortality program. We did identify that those were in the budget. We thought that those grant-funded positions have been taken out, but they were in the base budget out the gate, per se. It will have an additional $5,000 for the Pitt County Arts Council for the grant match funding for the Smart Art City. The Pitt County Arts Council came before you a year ago and indirectly alluded to a 5-year request for the Smart Art City. They're actually asking for $10,000 on this, and I told them that as manager I could recommend $5,000 additional. You have additional economic development reserve funding if and when you decide to use that funding. It has the continuation of the housekeeping contract that you adopted the contract for yesterday with ECVC, and it has the JCPC, the Juvenile, help me here, the Crime Prevention Council grant funding. There are no county funds. On the revenue review, in terms of revenues, your highest revenue source is on top, ad valorem taxes representing over 50% of your revenues. You can see the breakdown. Otherwise, intergovernmental is second, and then sales and service third. The next table illustrates the actual dollars that are associated with each of those. Ad valorem taxes at a little over $101 million, and then you can see the total going down to a total budget of $251,125,894. On the ad valorem tax rate, again, the proposed rate of 71.9 cents, and the current rate at 68.9. And remember, technically, the rate today is 69.6, but we've separated the current 0.7 of a penny out from the ad valorem. So just want to make that point. On the proposed distribution, the amount of money that 71.9 cent tax rate would yield is $93,186,630. And what's that based upon? That's based upon a tax base that is estimated by your tax administrator of the taxable property in Pitt County compared to exempt property such as churches, the hospital, the university, the community college, and so forth, of $13,047,967,948. That is up from about $12.8 billion from a year ago of the construction activity of taxable property that we've seen in Pitt County, representing an increase in the base of about almost $208 million, or 1.62%. In terms of proposed fee changes that were reviewed during the budget workshops, you have, I'm not going to go into these in any detail, but you did have fees for animal services, inspections, and solid waste and recycling that had been previously presented and covered. On the next slide for expenditure review and highlights, this slide is important as you go back to one of the first slides we presented with your priorities, and that first priority was education. This budget continues to hold education as your top #1 funded priority and expenditure category within your overall operating budget, and this is at 24.48%. Number 2, public safety. When we talk about education, obviously we're talking about Pitt County Schools, Pitt Community College. We're talking about the debt service on the facilities that the county covers on those facilities, maintenance dollars, and so forth. Public safety being the second top priority of you as a board that you have adopted. Here we're talking about areas such as Pitt County Sheriff's Office, Detention Center, emergency management, including 911, and those type of services at 19.46. The third highest category is human services. Human services, we're talking departments and services that would be included within areas such as DSS, the Department of Social Services, the Health Department, mental health funding that's passed on to Trillium resources for mental health in Pitt County. Then you can see the breakout otherwise in the pie chart. The next table is, again, a breakout of the dollars of the overall expenditures for the proposed budget. In terms of education funding, we'll first start with Pitt County Schools. In the chart before you, you can see in the current year's budget in the first column to the left in 18-19, the county currently appropriates $39,210,269 to the Pitt County school system. The Pitt County School Board is in charge of appropriating how those dollars are used, whether they are used, typically they're used to pay for utilities, maintenance, those type of things. They also use them to, I'll say, buy or to have additional positions, whether teaching positions, assistant principals, and those type of things. And they've also been used by the school system for the school supplements that are allocated today, the 3% for beginning teachers and the 5.25% for what they consider and call proficient teachers. On top of that $39 million, you have another $1 million in Capital 1, 2, and 3 expenses. These are for painting of schools, maintaining of schools as such. and then the rent that is captured through the use of this building, that monies are given for it, it helps in the per pupil allocation. So total in this year, $40,550,269. And that last year, they had an increase of 1.5%. This year, in 1920, in the new proposed budget, they had requested $43,346,862, again being appropriated the $1 million for Capital 1, 2, and 3, the rent $340,000, for a total request of $44,686,862, representing a $4.1 million increase in additional county ad valorem tax revenues. That would have represented a 10.55% overall appropriation if the board had given them what they had requested. I will say that their budget is broken up between what they call fixed expenditures in terms of new money of that $4.1 million and expansion items. I do want to note this budget appropriates 100% of every fixed expense item they've asked for of $1.1 million. So in the recommended column, in the last column on the right, as a recommended current expense appropriation of $40,305,914, the million for Capital 1, 2, and 3, the rent at $340, for a total allocation recommendation of $41,645,914. And this is an increase of $1,095,645, or 2.79%. On the next slide, dealing with Pitt Community College, this one was a little easier to deal with this year in terms of what they're asking for. I'm just going to cut to the chase on this one. In terms of 18-19, the column bolded in the middle, their current budget is $5.9 million, almost $6 million. They requested $6,094,738, and they were given $6,094,738. However, that only represented a 1.8% increase in dollars, $106,300. It was a very easy year in terms of funding for Pitt Community College. Not to say every year is like this, but I'm sure next year we'll probably have a different budget picture to manage. Next, on the next slide, for education funding, we wanted to illustrate the total amount of money going to education in Pitt County, whether it's the current expense dollars, whether it's the Capital 1, 2, and 3 dollars, whether it's the rent dollars, whether it's debt service on buildings and facilities. So the very bottom line of this illustration is that the county funds in the July 1 budget proposed for $61,475,261 in total education funding for both Pitt County Schools and Pitt Community College. Moving to industrial development, as alluded to a little while ago, we are moving out the industrial development as a separate tax for illustration purposes. Currently, it's a 7/10 of a penny, being recommended to go up 3/10 to a full penny, and this will be tagged for the industrial park expansion that for some land to expand Intergreen Corporate Park that the county will be purchasing next month. On the fire and EMS side, within the Fire District Fund, this is recommended by the EMS Oversight Committee that is appointed by the Pitt County Board of Commissioners. It maintains the rate of 4.6 cents, and all property in Pitt County, with the exclusion of the city of Greenville, is subject to the EMS tax and is provided services via the 10 EMS squads that services all of Pitt County. City of Greenville obviously has its own fire and EMS service. This budget also continues their capital replacement plan as they've had in place for a number of years. The next illustration breaks out the revenues. You can see in bottom line basically that where it says total revenues toward the bottom, we have $6,007,314 in the adopted budget. For 1920, we had $6.3 million requested. We're recommending $6,111,289. However, there was an adjustment of a few more dollars in there for a total of $6,157,048. On the EMS expenditures, excuse me, I'm fighting a little cold. You can see the 10 departments outlined on this chart, 2 of which are actually county-ran, county fully funded departments, whereas the other 8 are nonprofit squad operations. And you can see the funding matches for total expenditures of $6,157,048. On the fire side of the equation for fire and EMS, there are 20 nonprofit fire departments in Pitt County, and we have 3 of them this year who are asking for rate adjustments. And I guess before we go there, but on this table here on the far right column, we have 3 departments who are asking for the vehicle purchase participation program, where the county puts up $25,000, and we've included that in this year's budget for to be funded. On the next slide, it'll illustrate those 3 departments that were highlighted in yellow just a moment ago who are asking for a rate adjustment. You have Blackjack that's asking to go from 7.4 cents to 7.9, Eastern Pines from 5 cents to 7.75, Winterville from 4.4 to 6.24. In terms of the capital improvement plan, the board held a workshop back in January of this year to review the county's 10-year capital needs for both Pitt County government, Pitt County schools, Pitt Community College, and what you have in this budget is the year 1 of that 10-year plan of the expenditures, and these are outlined on this slide here as previously presented. The years 9 through 10 are not necessarily referenced or adopted at this point in time. Next year, we would like to maybe have you consider adopting the 10-year plan, so it's more of a fluid 10-year document, and not just looking at that 1 year, the first year of the document. There's a small slide version of this before you on the screen. I've included the 8.5 by 11 larger document that you had reviewed back in January, just for your reference. And with that, Madam Chair, that's all I have, unless there's any comments from the board. Otherwise, would be to open the public hearing.
Does anyone from the board have a question before we open the public hearing? Okay, I don't see any hands up. Or y'all want to get back to your
Yes, ma'am.
seats? I'm not telling you to get back to your seats. I didn't know that. Okay. As we prepare for our public hearings, as always, regardless of what the issue is, if we have a large number of people representing the same desire or the same wishes, and we'll be saying some of the same things, we would like to offer the opportunity for you to choose 2, maybe 3 people to speak to your issues, and then you can offer for everyone to stand up who is here to support. And we have some people downstairs in our EMS room. I tend to think, yes, right. So with that said, I think most of them, that the majority are the teacher supplements. Is there anyone who would like to speak for the teachers, or 2 or 3? Would you like to offer to do that, or get together a minute, or whatever? Okay, well, we'll go down this row unless there's going to be, Lauren, that's fine, unless there's going to be 3 of you or 2 of you to speak for everyone, and then we'll give you additional minutes if it's just a smaller number instead of the 3 minutes.
Sure. I'd like to speak, but there's a lot of people here that have.
Yeah, so the 2 larger organizations are definitely represented, but I wouldn't want to take away from private citizens' ability to speak as well.
No, I'm not. Anyway.
So, Lauren, why don't you speak on behalf of NCAE? I can speak on behalf of parents for public schools, and then as individual teachers or citizens who would like to speak.
Is there an individual citizen who signed up who would like to speak to represent?
There's a hand over here, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, can we ask the attorney maybe to read the policy on public comments, or for the public hearing, the number of minutes?
Would you all sort of select someone, those of you who are representing the...
You had a hand on this side if you didn't see
The
him.
policy of how many minutes do we all have?
You'll all have 3 if we do, isn't that right, or not?
Yes, Madam Chair. So your policy welcomes comments on all matters of public concern. Individual speakers have 3 minutes per speaker. I'll keep your time. When you come to the podium, state your name, where you live, either your address or your town, and I'll keep your time at 3 minutes. If you're speaking on behalf of a group, our policy allows you 5 minutes, and then you speak on behalf of the larger group, and you may have that group stand up to represent how many folks you're speaking for.
And we were not intending, we do this every time we have to offer that opportunity. So we'll just go down the list and call you, and if you want to defer to someone, that will be fine. Okay, our manager will call you up.
Okay, we'll start with the first name, Larry Carnes, if you'll come forward, please. And again, give your name and address, if you will.
And let me know at the outset if you're an individual or group, so I'll know how to set the timer, please.
I will do that.
Thank you.
I'm Larry Carnes. I'm an individual. So I'm going to try to not abuse my 3 minutes. I first want to thank the county commissioners for all that you do for our county. I have been a strong supporter of public schools for many, many years. Some of you may even remember me. I was once, my kids are now 15 years or better out of the public school system and graduated from Pitt County schools. And I am here now to support the teacher supplement increase, which would equate to you as a 1.6% increase in the budget. I understand that the county commissioners don't allocate the funds. However, they do allocate the funds to our school system, and they then in turn take that money and put it where it needs to be. If they're not fully funded, then they too have to make choices. And where do we make those choices? Safety, supplements, who knows? They're stuck with that. It just amazes me after 15 years that we are still struggling to support and fund our school system and with its needs. The sign, the logo out there says Pitt County, leader in the state, best in the East. And I'm proud to represent Pitt County when I leave here and talk about East Carolina University and our fine med schools and whatnot. We have an excellent graduating class of upcoming teachers who are looking for jobs, but they're not going to keep the jobs in North Carolina, in Pitt County, if we don't pay them. If you look at our neighboring counties, and I got information as to the supplements from 4 of our neighboring counties and Pitt County, we are the lowest county for our supplements, 3 to 5%, as was stated earlier. We are ranked 71 in our cost of living expenses out of 100 counties. Somehow that doesn't equate. Edgecombe County is rated at 53, and they're supplementing their teachers 7%. Wayne County is rated at 54, and their supplemental percentage is 6.5%. And they have the lowest annual salary in Goldsboro of $35,500. Wilson County is at 8%, and their average salary is $40,800. They are ranked at 61. The only county rated more. Is that my 3 minutes?
Yes, sir, and we'll give you
Okay.
30 seconds to close out.
To close out, okay. There are many citizens who are okay with the 1% tax increase if it means that we can retain our brightest teachers, and we need that in order to keep our students educated. The other choice is incarcerate them, because they won't have the education to find the jobs they need. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Connors. And speak.
Next, if Lauren Piner will come forward, please.
And we'll need to stick to our 3 minutes tightly because we have so many. And if anybody, when your name is called, if you want to defer, that will be fine too. Welcome, Lauren.
Lauren Piner, and I'm representing Pitt County Association of Educators. Hello again. Nice to see y'all all again tonight. For the record, I am Lauren Piner. I'm currently finishing up my 8th year of teaching at South Central High School, where I teach world history, elective on the Holocaust and Genocide Studies, and will shortly begin teaching an AP Modern World History class. I'm president of the Pitt County Association of Educators, the legislative advocate for the North Carolina Council on the Social Studies, and an advisory board member for Red for Ed NC. I came before you on May 20th to ask you to look again at the requested funding from Pitt County Schools, specifically in regards to the amount that would fund a teacher supplement raise. As stated before, we all know that Raleigh has continually not upheld their part of the funding bargain the last few years, and numerous unfunded mandates have been passed along to our county budgets. However, in regards to a statement made by one of our very own commissioners on May 20th, supplements have always been the responsibility of the county, not the state. Just outside this door, we state that we are a leader in the state, best in the East. I think we are, but I think that we need to look at our priorities again. Research has consistently shown that student outcomes and performance are much improved when students have access to highly qualified veteran teachers. Yet in many classrooms around Eastern North Carolina, our students are being taught by a revolving door of inexperienced teachers. Many counties, including ours, have to rely on programs such as Teach for America due to a national shortage of teachers. TFA requires a 2-year commitment, and then most members go on to law school, medical school, other careers. Some end up state superintendent, but the majority do not stay in the classroom or in the community. As someone who is just finishing up my 8th year in the classroom, I can honestly say that it's only been in the last 2 years that I've become 100% confident in my abilities in pedagogy. There's always more to learn, but we know veteran teachers bring stability to schools, students, and our communities. Therefore, we should do everything in our ability to recruit the best and brightest from around the state and retain the wonderful staff we already have in our schools. When looking at the school systems where teachers have the highest salaries, and therefore it can be argued they feel the most valued, Pitt County ranks 82 out of 115 LEAs. Many of the school systems in the top 20 have extremely low rates of turnover and communities that actively value and support their public schools, while also having a high number of nationally board certified teachers, which we know raises the salary average. The Board of Education of Pitt County Schools and the senior staff of Pitt County Schools are experts in their field. They know what it takes to recruit teachers to our schools, and they know what our funding needs are. We should trust them. Education has consistently been tasked with producing the same or higher outcomes with fewer resources, and Pitt County Schools isn't asking for more than we need. Yes, our budget does take up the largest amount of the county's budget, but I stand here before you to state with full confidence that it should be. For it is unequivocally the most important of the budget items. Our public education system and funding it appropriately is important for our community, our state, our children, and importantly, for the preservation of our democratic civil society. Again, I ask you to fully fund the Pitt County Schools requested budget. Thank you.
Next, we have Chris Rickson.
I'm an individual. Chris Rickson, 400 Cooper Street, Winterville, North Carolina. It is with the utmost concern that I speak before the Commission about the teacher supplement. I'm discouraged that the Pitt County Board of Commissioners voted down a motion to further raise a proposed tax increase to fund additional pay supplements for Pitt County teachers in the 2019-2020 fiscal year budget. I was delighted to see that Commissioners Nunnally, Albright, and Perkins-Williams voted in favor of this measure. However, to my dismay, I saw that others voted to underserve our teachers. As a resident of Pitt County, I'm concerned about our current supplement. Our county is far behind competitor and neighboring counties as it concerns a competitive supplement. It was not long ago that I attended Pitt County Public Schools, and most of the educators that I had the privilege of calling my mentors have left the county for better pay elsewhere in the state. It is disheartening that talented educators are choosing to teach elsewhere than right here in Pitt County. In 2018, during my campaign for North Carolina House, I knocked on doors and I spoke with a lot of voters, many of whom were educators. I knew public education was broken in North Carolina, but what I did not know was how undervalued our teachers felt right here at home. After marching in Raleigh with our teachers in 2018 and this past May, I realized that while change might not be possible in Raleigh right now, we can champion public education locally today. Please understand that in failing our teachers, our state legislatures failed to provide the quality education that our state's Constitution has promised the children of North Carolina. We can do better, even if that means finding local solutions when state legislatures feel as they do not have a job to do in Raleigh. It is important that our county remain competitive to keep quality teachers in Pitt County. The teacher supplement of 7% is modest and should be seen as a community investment rather than a financial burden. I believe we have an opportunity to be proactive and support our teachers locally. I am of the firm belief that the Pitt County Board of Commissioners will do what is right by our teachers and be a local champion of public education. Elected officials can and will be held accountable. The people in the audience are voters, and united our voices are powerful. I'm asking that you all go on record as champions of public education, but if you choose to be an enemy of public education instead, that is your prerogative. Thank you.
Colleen Dibble.
Hi, I'm Kylene Dibble, the Executive Director of Parents for Public Schools of Pitt County. I'll ask folks in the room who are a part of Parents for Public Schools in any way to stand with me, but I'll also say that some of them might choose to speak. We have over 4,000 members in our county, so some might also be here as individuals. You might remember that I was here a few weeks ago and spoke with you then, so I won't repeat what I said then, and I'll try to keep it brief tonight. I do want to thank you again for fulfilling the role of County Commissioner. Please just know that as we share our thoughts and our opinions tonight, that we do so with respect and we do so with gratitude. We understand that this is a hard job. What I do want to focus on tonight is community. I moved to Pitt County almost 5 years ago with a kindergartner and a 2-year-old from Wake County. And when I tell people this, they're sometimes shocked that we would choose to leave the wonderful Wake County and come to Pitt County. The truth is, it was the move our family had no idea that we needed. And we have loved everything about our time in Pitt County. From the community that we've established, to the friends we've made, to the public education our children have received. I want to spread the word everywhere that Pitt County is an amazing place to live and that we work together as a community to make it so. I truly believe that education is the common denominator. So as I spread the word that Pitt County is a great place to live, I want to spread the word that our schools are a true gem and that our entire community rallies around making those schools the gem they are. Our teachers, our parents, our businesses, and even our county commissioners. So I ask you to help me spread that news that Pitt County is the place to live, not just a great place, but the place to live. And that a large part of that is because our community pulls together and shows that teachers are worthy of the compensation that matches their profession. As I said in May, I really am thankful that you've chosen to fulfill this role. The decisions you make are deep and complex, and I will not pretend to understand every component of the decisions you have to make about funding. I know there are many other entities to fund. Scott went through so many of them in the budget earlier. There's so much to fund. But I believe that education is the common denominator. It's teachers who are the most stable place in a child's life when they're experiencing homelessness. It's teachers and school counselors who are the ones preparing a foster child to go live with his mother when she gets out of prison. And it's teachers, who might be the first person that a child confides in about depression, suicidal ideations, eating disorders, abuse, neglect, teen pregnancy, coming out as LGBTQ. All of the issues that our students deal with, our teachers are our front lines. And all of the other entities you fund will support those students, but they'll often do so because a teacher did so first. So it's very important to us that the full Pitt County Schools budget is considered tonight. I do realize you've already crunched those numbers, and we're asking a lot for you to re-crunch them. But maybe if you can't find a way to crunch them as support for our teachers tonight, you could consider preparing to fund an amount next year that would, from the get-go, support this supplement. So I hope you'll consider that supplement tonight. If you simply cannot find a way to do that, I truly hope you'll make a promise to us and to the amazing teachers in this room and to our parents and our students that you can fully support them next year. So thank you for your time. Thank you everyone in the room for being here.
Next, we have Melissa Cox, or Coy Cox.
Hi, my name's Melissa Cox, and I live in Greenville. I am speaking as an individual. I am a 20-year veteran teacher. Of those 20 years, I've taught 17 at Eastern Elementary. I'm a parent of 2 public school students. I have a 6th grader at Hope, and I have a 2nd grader at Eastern, and I myself am a proud product of public schools. At Eastern, we teach our children that they matter. Every morning, we recite a mantra as a school family: I matter. Every day, in every way, in all that I do, nothing less than my best. We expect nothing less than the best from our students day in and day out. We teach them, we love them, we form relationships and class families with them. We give them safe spaces, we give them pencils, we give them hugs. We teach them in conference rooms, teacher lounges, and copy rooms that have turned into makeshift classrooms. We have homerooms of 30-plus children, yet we still find the time to provide individualized instruction that they so deserve. We pour our souls, our free time, our money into our work. We attend ball games and dance recitals. We attend music concerts and swim meets, all to support our students. We do this because we are educators. We do this because we love our students. We do this because we want them to know they matter. My question to you is, do we matter? Do the teachers of Pitt County matter? The fact that Pitt County is ranked 82nd in teacher supplement makes me think, no, we do not matter in your eyes. The fact that you do not want to support us sends the message to teachers that we do not matter. The fact that you will not consider adding 1 penny, to our property taxes that the Pitt County teachers pay, sends the message to teachers that we do not matter. You want to recruit and retain the best teachers? It's not going to happen in Pitt County. It's not. We are training the teachers, but they are leaving. They are leaving for other counties for better supplements across the state. They are moving to Craven, to Wake, to Nash counties. They are leaving for better paying positions all around us, and we're sitting and watching it happen. Nope, teachers don't matter, not as much as a penny. So now is your opportunity to show that Pitt County, that our teachers do in fact matter. Those papers that you have in front of you that you're reading, courtesy of a teacher. That 1-cent tax that you're calculating, also taught to you by a teacher. The patience that you are so nicely displaying as we're trying to change your mind, taught to you, character education, by a teacher. Teachers do matter. Now is your chance to do something about it. The question is, will you?
Okay, next we have Landon Menges.
Madam Chair, County Commissioners, thank you guys for, and ladies, for taking the time to meet with us tonight. I'm here representing, I am the Assistant Chief and the head of the Building Committee for Eastern Pines Fire and Rescue. I come to you today representing Eastern Pines Fire Department in hopes of being granted a 2.75 cent tax increase. We began this journey 2 years ago with the discussion and then planning of a new fire station. The discussion started after a failing septic system and many other structural repairs came to light. We have a complete roof and gutter repair that needs to take place. We have a lot of drainage issues, leaking and rotten windows, doors, and overall plumbing system that is currently failing. Our facilities are lacking certain safety measures such as decontamination rooms, washrooms, and overall room for our apparatuses and equipment. We continue to be good stewards of our budget and have not asked for a tax increase in over 10 years. This department has no desire to sink over $150,000 of taxpayer money in repairs to a building that is ultimately failing. Although I understand the consequences of a tax increase to the taxpayers of Pitt County, along with 99% of our own membership, in the end, this will save them money. We're building a 50-year station. Commissioner Colson was gracious enough to visit our station this past weekend. His article in the paper just this morning says that we are in need of a new station. We represent only a fraction of our membership and our roster of 42 members, and they deserve better than what we're offering regarding our facilities. These are volunteers that take their time day in and day out, every night when everybody in this room is sleeping. We're answering the call and responding to keep these families safe and to do the job to the best of our ability. Please don't strip us and not allow us to complete that task. We're very fortunate, we know that, but we're only trying to be better. Thank you all for your time. I respect the jobs that you guys do. I know it's difficult at times, and I respect that. But please don't turn your back on the volunteers of this county. Thank you very much.
Next, we have Mike Metcalf.
Good evening. My name is Mike Metcalf. I am an individual speaker. I am a social studies teacher at South Central High School. I actually work with Ms. Piner and several other people in the crowd. This is my first year teaching in Pitt County schools. This is my third year. I just finished. The last 2 years I taught in a district, and I will not mention its name out of respect for my former students and my former colleagues. This district had quite possibly the highest teacher turnover rate within the state. And there was a number of reasons, and one of them being TFA. Majority of new teachers that they hired every single year were TFA. And they did their 2-year commitments, and they left. This past year at the school that I was previously at, they are losing 6 teachers because their TFA term is over.
Will you explain TFA just for the public and for
Sure.
those who may not know? Just give us the,
Teacher America is a program run by the
Okay.
federal government.
that's just that it's Teach America.
Yes. So
Thank
they
you.
did their 2-year term and they're gone. They're going on to other professions. None of them have any desire to stay within the teaching profession. And one of the main reasons why they don't want to stay in that district and why that district struggles finding qualified teachers straight out of college is because they don't pay a supplement. They have a 0% teacher supplement. And it is among the bottom 5 in performing school districts within the state. And there are adjacent school districts to it that also have higher supplements. And so a lot of teachers leave that small district to go to those other districts. And there's a number of problems going on there that I could list off, but I don't want to waste it, but I don't want to use up everybody's time. But my point is, though, is that looking at the failure of that district, it continually falls behind. Just proves that we need to have a reason to stay. We want to be able to invest in ourselves. A supplement doesn't just make it easier to pay our rent or to pay the bills. It gives us time. It gives us a chance to invest in ourselves. The more we can invest in ourselves as teachers, then we can invest in our students. The more we can invest in our students, then the more successful that they will be. In Pitt County, it has a growing revolving door. A lot of teachers are leaving to go to other counties to get that higher supplement, and our students are suffering. There isn't a single kid at my last school who has a single teacher that stayed with them for 4 years. And it is sad to see. I was just recently at their graduation. And it breaks my heart. I mean, I love seeing them grow. I taught them when they were sophomores, and now they're graduating as seniors, moving on to other things. I could not be there to finish that journey help them finish that journey, not because I did not want to leave, but because my position was cut in that district because they continually cut the budget to their education system. And so they continuously lose teachers. They lose students through dropouts. Students are incarcerated. They have, poor family lives. I already saw that firsthand. I don't want to see that in Pitt County. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Tanya Puckett.
If we didn't get that right, you can identify yourself. It was kind of small.
It's Tawana Perkett, address 279 Copper Creek Drive in Winterville, speaking in support of our teachers and their teacher supplement. Good evening to our Pitt County Commissioners and everyone here this evening. To our Pitt County Commissioners, I first want to thank you for the work that you do, both for your service to Pitt County and its residents. It's no small task for you to do what you do. As a native of Pitt County and product of Pitt County schools, I'm asking you today now as a parent of a child in Pitt County schools, an advocate for our public school system, to support funding for additional supplements for our teachers. We must do everything we can to entice our strong new teachers to begin their career in Pitt County and encourage our strong and seasoned teachers to stay in our county. While our cost of living are certainly different from our colleagues like Wake and Mecklenburg County, we are not drastically different from neighboring counties such as Wayne, Edgecombe, Wilson, and Craven counties. Depending on years of experience, the current supplement for our teachers here in Pitt County ranges between 3% and 5%, while supplements for Wayne County are 6.5%, Edgecombe County 7%, Wilson County 8%, and Craven County 8.5%. If we're going to compete with those neighboring counties, we have to do that. We have to compete. A lower supplement than neighboring counties is not a competition. Looking at higher supplements in nearby counties means that we must do all we can to provide teachers every incentive possible to dedicate themselves to children in our county. I would ask for your vote to support funding the full budget requested by Pitt County Schools, and I'm confident that our children and our entire community will benefit. I'm so appreciative of your time this evening and service to our community, and I thank you for considering my support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Mary Gross.
Is this person here? Do you want to call them?
And as Ms. Gross comes forward, we have a Dr. Yoshi Newman down in the EOC. If she would come up, you'd be next to speak, unless you're in the audience right now.
Good evening. I'm Katie Gross, and I'm a special education teacher with Pitt County Schools. I'm at Stoke School. I'm also a mom and a grandmother. And I'm here. I wasn't planning to speak. I'm a very nervous speaker, but I have something to say. As a Pitt County teacher, I've experienced everything that the previous speakers addressed about what happens in the classroom, about what our students, our kids face. All of those scenarios are faced by teachers in our county. We're champions of our students. We love our students. We're dedicated to the work that we do. I'm the EC contact for our school, which means I attend monthly meetings at the for special education teachers representing our school. And very often at that meeting is a discussion about how to attain and keep good qualified special education teachers. I understand there's also a concern with math and science teachers as well. Why can't we keep them? I'm wondering if it's because they can drive 1 to 2 counties over and make a living wage. Our teachers are the heart of this community. Teachers at Pitt County Schools often work a second job just to make ends meet, to pay the rent or the mortgage. Cosmetics, selling cosmetics, photographing weddings. That's just 2 very real examples. As a veteran teacher, many, many years of working with kids, as a mother and a grandmother, how can I encourage these bright young teachers to stay in Pitt County Schools? As a mentor, how can I encourage them to stay here? This board is a reflection of our community. Does this community take care of its educators and its students? The budget, including that supplement, demonstrates a valuing of the biggest core of this community. I'm a champion for our students and our bright young teachers. I ask you from the bottom of my heart to make our schools great, to fund the full $43.3 million for our schools. Thank you.
Dr. Yoshi Newman.
I had my thoughts all arranged for you, but I walked in the room and I saw this adorable little child. She had to leave momentarily, but I think she's coming back. Looking at her, I just came to tears because she's why we're here. That adorable little child, not yet in public school, but hopefully she will be. And she's our future. We have urgent matters before us locally, in the state, in our nation, in our world. Those children are the future. They're the ones that we have to depend on for the solutions to the crises we are leaving them. I know in your work you have to balance so many urgencies, but what I've just said can't be any more urgent. It can't possibly be any more urgent than our future. I don't need to restate all of the facts that have been so eloquently given to you here tonight. In my mind, you don't have a choice. You don't even have a choice. I don't know why there's much debate. You do have a lot to balance. You have a hard job. Raleigh has made your job a lot harder. We're depending upon you to leverage the right action for education. I've been a substitute teacher for 3 years because I wanted to see what it's like in the public schools. I wanted to be able to celebrate and to go home some days thinking, I'm a total failure to those kids today. But I've been in Eastern Elementary, and Melissa Cox spoke to this. I have been there those mornings with those children reciting that same mantra. You matter. You matter. We need to demonstrate to them through supporting our teachers, through providing the resources that they need, that indeed they do matter. And when they matter, we all matter. This community matters. So I urge you, the schools need that money. I've seen it. The teachers can tell you if you spent time in the classroom, and I would ask all of you to do that. Try spending time in the classroom, not just one day. Try it for a week. I marvel at these people. I absolutely marvel at it. I could not do their job. In fact, I think very few people in the room right now who aren't teachers could. So I can't state this more strongly. And this adorable child now is sitting behind me. and it makes me want to cry again. And so I urge you in the strongest terms possible. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you for serving our community. Thank you.
That is the last citizen that we had signed up for our public hearing, and we appreciate all the comments and all the efforts and the attendance today. Thank you very much. We need to, excuse me, we had a sheet to sign up, and all of them that signed up have spoken.
I was told I couldn't sign up. It was too late. And
Well, sir, if you would like to come forward and take your 3 minutes, that'll be perfect. Thank you. And as you were coming forward, when you were talking about being an educator, I was an educator for over 52 years. So I've been seated right where you all are. So it's not that there isn't, and there are other people here who have been associated with education too. So just, with that said, that's fine.
3 minutes.
Identify yourself and you got your 3 minutes.
My name is Michael Gross. I'm a long-term resident of Pitt County in Greenville. I teach at East Carolina University. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak. I had no intention to do so, but I've been deeply moved by what I have heard here. And it reminds me of what I've been hearing over and over and seeing over and over again in our society. Once again, teachers, good, decent, hardworking teachers who dedicate their lives to children, coming forward and begging that they be heard, begging that the issues they bring forward receive the attention that they deserve. I made a promise the first day that I started teaching, a promise my students don't know, which is I promise to be their sword and shield, always, for all students here in North Carolina, in this nation, and in the world. And it is a duty and obligation that I ask you please to join me in doing. I would like to mention that I, in fact, am married to a public school teacher. And I want to just take the moment to honor her as I would like to honor all teachers. When she says, or I know that she could say, that she gets up at 4:30 in the morning, it's still dark outside, I turn over in my bed and continue to sleep. She is preparing to go to school. When she finishes at school, which includes extracurricular responsibilities, she comes home, and after dinner, even before dinner lately, she's hard at work. She works her Fernini off. What does it mean in a country where a CEO, without exaggeration, I looked it up, I did the statistical research, makes $4,000 an hour, or $6,000 an hour. But a teacher in the high schools, in the public schools, makes on average, $19 to $20 an hour. Would anyone care to speculate whether a CEO works harder than the wife I've just mentioned? Thank you so emphatically much for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you for coming. We will now open it to the commissioners.
Do you want to close the public hearing?
Well, yes, I do need to close the public hearing. Thank you very much. I thought it closed when it ended. But do we have to have a motion, or do I just close it? Thank you very much. The hearing is closed. Okay. Next, we have our items for discussion and to consider the adoption of the budget ordinance. And we will start, if you have a comment that you'd like to make or anything you'd like to say, we'll start down here with you. Lauren, if you would like.
No comment.
No comment. And Mike? Ann?
I would just like the county manager to speak to House Bill 66. to 7 at some point.
Okay. So on May 20th, when the Board of
Say that again, the House bill that's presently in Raleigh?
Yeah, House
Okay.
Bill 667.
Okay.
Yes, on May 20th, when the board held an additional budget workshop, the board passed a resolution for a proposed bill that passed the House. It's over in the Senate called House Bill 667. Basically authorizes counties in North Carolina, if it's approved in the Senate and then signed by the governor into law, to enact additional sales tax authorization for Pitt County. Obviously, we have Article 46 that was adopted back in, I think, 2008 for the quarter cent that we've dedicated exclusively for brick and mortar for Pitt County schools and Pitt Community College. This would allow, if it becomes law, would allow Pitt County to put up via referendum of the voters to go another quarter percent. Right now, we're at a flat 7%. We'd go 7.25%, and that half cent can be used according to how the legislation is written that passed the House, can be used for tax for public school capital needs, teacher supplements, community college needs, or any public purpose. And again, it would have to be, if it does pass the Senate, and there was, I think it was pretty strong support in the House. I was told by the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners that there would probably be some opposition in the Senate. I'm not sure what the status of that is yet, but the Board of Commissioners did pass this resolution. We did send it to our delegation in Raleigh for showing the county's support of this. So if this would become law, if it's put on the ballot, if the voters of Pitt County were to vote for it, you could use it for any of these purposes stated.
Okay, thank you. We were aware of that, and because of the state county commissioners meeting, and we, as our manager said, how many years ago has it been since we did
I believe it was 2008.
We gathered with the Chamber of Commerce, the school system, county commissioners, and did an all-out, everyone joined together, and it passed the quarter cent sales tax, which has gone to the schools fully and completely. This tax would give us the opportunity to do the same thing, and I would feel that this would be the direction that we would probably vote for it to go, the additional sales tax. So that's just to share with you so you know. Thank you. Any other comment?
Well, one speaker did say that that she knew we had already crunched the numbers, and if not at this time, that we could, at a later date, be able to fund the supplement. So I just wanted them to know about this bill and the possibility of using that for supplement, and if it passed. So I just wanted the teachers to be aware of that.
Yes, I want to particularly thank all of you for your passion, your speech, and your concern. I was once a teacher myself, and I certainly understand the commitment and the concern for the students that you have, and I appreciate that. I think this is where county is at its best, when we have the citizens and teachers to come forth and express their concerns. So I'm particularly appreciative of this. One lady, and I apologize, I can't recall your name. You talked about the fact that that you appreciate the work that the county commissioners do, because it's not an easy job. And then you also said that if we couldn't fund this at this particular time, that if we could put it in the budget, have it that we can do a 2% next year. Who was that lady? Will you stand, please, ma'am? I want to personally thank you, because you touched me, and to understand the commitment and the situation that the county commissioner go through was very, very heart touching to me. So And I want you to know that we appreciate all your comments, but in particular, you really touched me. So thank you. The other thing I want to say is that we've had the highest tax increase in the history of this commission, to my knowledge. And we have to consider the total population here. You know, I have people that have called me that they're living from paycheck to paycheck, and they're hurting. They can't afford to continue to have any other increase in tax because right now they can't make ends meet, barely can make it. So we have a situation that we have to be mindful not only of just one part of the segment, but we have to be reminded of the whole total county in doing so. But public education is our #1 priority, and we're going to continue to have that as our #1 priority. And every year that I've been a commissioner, we have increased public education. Matter of fact, we've increased it this year of about 3% from last year, 2.79%, I think it was.
And 1,095,000.
Right. So we continue to increase public education. And we will continue to do this because of our commitment to education. So I just want to make you aware of that. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. And thank you to the speakers and to the teachers and the young folks that are in the audience here too. I have 38 years in public education. The first was in public schools, and it was in New Orleans before I came to ECU, where I spent 37 years teaching. I was in Chalmette. Okay. So the two of the subjects, I'm new on the commission. I was elected last year, and in campaigning, two of the subjects that I most often talked about were, one, how I looked forward to working with county staff. I was a commissioner in Fountain for 9 years, and we didn't really have the money to have a staff other than billing and utilities. So it was really exciting to me to think about what professional people could do to help me understand how government works and how it can work better and more efficiently for the people that it serves. The other thing that I said often was that I wish that we could hold the line on taxes. And I said that often. Staff helped me understand the need for our tax rate that's being proposed in this particular budget. And I think it's worth noting that in their preparation of this proposed budget, they've recommended cuts to every department in the county, and that is a total of over $10 million, as we've heard. Since our first discussions, the staff has also found ways to accommodate body cameras and some of the critical needs that we have in social services that were not in the first budget proposal. So I'm grateful for that hard work and for finding the funds for those events, for those things. Even with those cuts, staff is still recommending an increase to our ad valorem rate. A little history. Today, we're paying a tax rate that is still less than what we paid in 2003, 2004, when the tax rate reached 0.70, where it stayed until 2007, 2008, when it hit its historic high, 0.71. The following year, it dropped to an historic low to 0.665, where it stayed for 3 years. It's gradually then gotten to its current rate of 0.696. Over this period of 15 years, our population has grown by over 32,000 people, and our tax rate is still lower than it was in 2003, 2004. And this is because of the incredible work that this staff does year after year of finding the money and spending the money wisely. I think that's an amazing statistic that 32,000 more people are living in this county than were in 2003, 2004, and we're still paying less tax today than we did then. We've already heard the stats on contiguous counties, I think, and I won't go over those again, but suffice it to say that I'm very much in favor of the budget as it's been proposed, and I thank again the staff for their hard work in preparing it. Now, I'm also in favor of amending this budget to accommodate an increase in teacher supplements to 7% of their salaries. And I understand I understand some of the arguments against this. Schools get to provide, to decide how their appropriations are spent. That's true with what we provide. And they did ask for this raise, I believe. They already get the most money of any department, which has already been addressed. It's true. They also take care of 23,500 students on an average day, every day of the school year. That number is increasing, and that's not the case in all of the counties around us where schools are being hit really hard with alternative sources of education, whether it's homeschooling or charter schools. So I'm really proud of our school system for the effort that they've put in to increasing that population. The state is supposed to take care of salaries, and we take care of facilities. That's true, but the state isn't doing its job. We've all heard about the unfunded mandates. This is one that we could fund if we choose. Historically, throughout North Carolina, I believe that teacher supplements are generally a local funding issue. We've also heard that we shouldn't compare Pitt County to the Triangle and Charlotte schools, and I think we've heard some good speakers tonight that show it's not necessary. We can make those comparisons with Wilson and Edgecombe, and I'm not knocking our neighbors at all, please. We in Fountain sometimes feel more a part of Edgecombe or Wilson County than we do of Pitt. Traffic is a lot easier to negotiate in either place. Cost of living is lower. Gas is way cheaper in Wilson or Tarboro. And if you're a teacher, you get a higher supplement if you live there too, as well as in Craven, Nash, and Wayne counties. Right now, our schools are funded by the county, the federal and state government, and the teachers themselves. That's a big part of the budget that's being spent on education. And their administrators. They're doing the funding. Nobody else is helping out. That's it. So to get the supplement even higher, 10% I think is the goal. To hit that noble goal, I hope that our much talked about public-private economic development model will address teacher pay. And it would be okay, I think, if the city could figure out a way to help us all out here too. If we could find a philanthropy model to help. But that's down the road, like the sales tax. It's not here right now, tonight. The teacher budget will raise our taxes, yes, but not much. I pay taxes on 10 properties in Pitt County, and this is how I will be affected. On 2 buildings I own in downtown Fountain, under the proposed budget, I'd pay about $29 more per year. With what I'll call a teacher budget, that would increase by $16. I own 6 properties in Fountain. This really speaks more, I think, to property values in my little town than anything else. They're undeveloped, but the most expensive of these properties will result in a $3 increase per year in the proposed budget and less than $2 a year increase in what I'm calling the teacher budget. On the house that my wife Elizabeth and I live in Fountain, the teacher budget will cost us about $14 a year additional. On a rental house we own in Greenville, we'll pay about $20 additional in the teacher budget. I want to close by apologizing for going on so long, and also a reminder that when we particularized our mission statement this year, we set 7 goals for 2019-20. The first of these is to promote quality education. We continuously put education on top of our pyramid, as we've seen on the slides, and we love saying we're both a leader in the state and the best in the East. We're currently ranked 53rd in the state in per pupil spending, and as we heard, 82nd in supplements. We are below average. That's a C-, if not a D, at best. I can think of no more appropriate way to promote quality education at this time, right now, in this budget year, than to support this very reasonable request to increase teacher supplements to 7%. Thank you.
Ms. Williams.
I'm glad to know that we got another preacher on this on the commission board other than myself. I too have been in the Pitt, I'm a product of Pitt County Schools, born here, reared here, and I've worked in Pitt County Schools. I've educated here in North Carolina, and I represent a district north of the Tar River, one of the poorest in the county. I'm proud of where I live. I have given to this county all that I can, all that I will, and all that I look to in the future. I do constituency services to help the families. I see where you're coming from. I've been there. I worked 28 years in 11 months at East Carolina University. My salary when I was retired was $34,900. I reared 2 children alone. I flooded with Floyd and became homeless. I'm still proud of where I live. In my district, another Senator Davis and I got together and we put together 15 book bags with supplies for the families who cannot make the supplies for their children. And we gave them to the administrators because they knew who would need them. Every school in my district got 15 book bags with supplies from our pockets. So I've shared all I have. I understand your pain. I go along with everything you can. But you know, my district just cannot stand another tax. We're scraping. I just became out of a mobile home just last year from being homeless from Floyd. I understand it. I appreciate all that you do. I appreciate everything you do for every child in Pitt County. It is the teacher who starts all the other engineers, the attorneys, the educators, the county managers, the principals. It's the teachers. You started with the ABCs and the 1, 2, 3s. And you are appreciated by me. I do all I can for you. I appreciate everything you said and I agree with it. So whatever we do, I do it out of love for the families in my district, the families in Pitt County, and for the pockets that we have to hold. Whatever we come up with, we have a good staff. And he's riding up a storm. And I'm voting for the budget. I'm voting for the budget. And I know it's going to be a hardship. But somehow we'll make it. Because we're going to plant another cabbage and another collard and chop it, and we're going to cut down on our shopping bill. Because we drive farther than anyone else in this county to get goods and services for our families. But I still love Pitt County, and we are the best in the East, and will continue to be. Thank you.
Commissioner Nunley?
Madam Chair, thank you. And thank you, teachers, for being here this evening. Thank you, fellow commissioners. It's been an honor to serve with you during this budget process. However, county commissions seated in Rocky Mount, Wilson, New Bern, Goldsboro, Wilmington. In fact, in most of the metro areas in eastern North Carolina, currently prioritize teachers and teacher supplements at a level that far outpaces our current approach, and that's the reality. That's the 2019 reality. And that's not coming from a hypothetical place. I sit on this commission, but daily I also sit on the other side of students in the classroom. I'm a card-carrying member of the NCMEA. I meet with my fellow educators on a yearly basis. And what I'm saying here tonight in response to the educators that are here to share their stories is to tag on to that and to let you know that it is real. That in the East, Greenville and Pitt County lags further and further behind our competition, and we are losing quality educators on a yearly basis for higher pay and stronger support. For those that we're not losing, we're forcing them into multiple jobs. Again, this is not a hypothetical. It is not a hypothetical. By not supporting teacher supplements, we're losing dollars for our local economy. Our teachers are not able to save and purchase a home. We're losing a positive metric, and this is something that isn't spoken about a lot unless you're in a corporate boardroom, but we're losing a positive metric for potential employers who value a perceived strong public education system and the cost of living of savings that it provides its employees. We're losing future teachers who should consider teaching as a valuable and rewarding career path. As we kick this down the road, we're reneging on the promise of prioritizing education above all else. Today, regardless of what happens with the sales tax, today, we are not the best in the East when it comes to supporting teachers. The argument was made in our last budget workshop concerning this matter that oftentimes a higher cost of living is the reason for teacher supplements. And while that very well may be the case, and some of what our emerging competitors, Charlotte-Mecklenburg, Wake County, Asheville, Buncombe, Durham counties, in fact, a lot of these counties still are teachers on a regular basis. It's been noted tonight, and again, this is not hypothetical, that the counties surrounding us are also outpacing us. And so we are losing educators that live in Pitt County. Our kids are losing those teachers to our surrounding counties where they're supported more. In fact, we're getting hammered. For our competitors, Wake County, 17%, Chapel Hill, Carrboro, 16%, Asheville, Buncombe, 8%, New Hanover, 8.5%, Charlotte-Mecklenburg, 16%. We are at 3.5%. For our comparable counties, Nash, Rocky Mount, 10%, Wilson, 8%, Craven, 8.5%, Edgecombe, 7%, Wayne County, 6.5%, Pitt County, 3.5%. What does this mean? Well, it means if you're a veteran teacher, for all that we as a commission do, we are not valuing the teacher at a level that our competitor counties are valuing. We are not treating our veteran teachers as the professionals that they are, but more importantly, we're operating under the assumption that what happens under the Dome in Raleigh is going to be good enough for those of us in Pitt County. We are not leading by not filling this gap. For the young teacher, what it means is that as they're struggling to make ends meet for his or her family, while being saddled with student debt, means choosing to make a home. Making a home in Pitt County means choosing also to live a life of 2 to 3 jobs to make a living wage, which sacrifices time for the family and the community just to make the next bill cycle. That does not make us best in the East. For the modern graduating teacher who decides to stay in Pitt County because, like you and I, they love it, a young professional that is most likely 20, and single, and carrying student loan debt, they're being forced to compete in a market where they will make vastly below the median Pitt County income of $45,000. And that's not good stewardship of our people. For the prospective teacher growing up in Pitt, teaching here looks less and less like a viable career option, unless a move to a more supportive market like Craven County is in the future. Most likely, however, that high schooler's not looking that far out, just sees the struggle of those in the community that she interacts with, knows firsthand what it's like to be a teacher in Pitt County, and even if she values that profession, is strongly encouraged by her experience against pursuing it. Our current approach is not long-sighted, supportive, and encouraging for our next generation. Even if we did support a modest 7% supplement, that only brings beginning teacher salary in Pitt County to $37,000, $37,450. We've still got a long way to go. For those who feel like we cannot afford this supplement, consider this. Cost of not doing it means 200 less extra dollars per teacher. Means approximately 20 more hours spent away from friends and family working to make ends meet. 200 more towards the transmission service that they cannot afford that's 10,000 miles overdue. The supplement's 2,000 more for groceries. 200 more for groceries. $200 more to save up for that first home purchase, which, by the way, again, something that's not discussed a lot, but which ultimately adds to the tax base of this county. We cannot afford to ignore the current market, the current teacher market. I implore this commission, if we cannot do the 7%, to take a modest step, a show of good faith this evening, to step up a little bit, to at least bring beginning teachers and our veteran teachers up closer to Wayne County, to 6%. Let's do something tonight to show the educators that have come before us today that we're with them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Colson.
Well, as Beth could tell you, my third grader went to Wintergreen, and Beth was principal, and she's now a teacher. She teaches at Panther Creek High School in Cary. Why not in Pitt County? But when she graduated from ECU with her master's in biology and minored in chemistry, she was told there are no science positions in Pitt County. So she ended up in Wake County, and she's been there ever since. She taught at Broughton High School for a number of years, and now she's at Panther Creek. She teaches advanced biology and advanced chemistry, AP chemistry or AP biology or whatever they call it now. Thankfully, she's much smarter than her daddy. I can relate very closely with the fact of her pay. When she graduated, there was a period of time where teachers did not get raises from the state, and that was a very hard time. She went 7 years with no raises, none whatsoever. She has her master's in teaching, master's in biology, and it's in the degree of biology. She's just not a biology teacher that went to like 9 hours or 12 hours or however many hours she's got to teach in that. And I think that having that master's makes her a better teacher. I once asked her, I said, Ingrid, do you actually teach to the test? And she said, no. I said, well, what do you do? She says, I teach the subject, and the kids will pass the tests if I teach the subject. And so she stuck to that model, and it seems to have done very well. She gets very high reviews from everybody that's ever worked with her and her people that are above her, principals and so on. I object to the county commission kind of putting the argument out there that we, the county commission, will make, it sounds like, a new line item in our budget that's going to pay supplemental pay. It's not our responsibility. It's the school system. They're the ones that set the thing, not us. We give them so much money, they can spend it. It's no strings attached. Now, Scott, I'd like to ask you a question. Help refresh my memory. If we had funded the $43.4 million that the school system had asked for, how much of that money would have been used for supplemental pay? Do you remember?
Brian, can you help me? Was that a 7%? In looking at the school system's presentation from the third day of the workshops on Friday, they gave us five scenarios from 6 to 10% on supplements, and they've got highlighted the 7% at $2,362,825. So I'm thinking it was 7%. Is that what you recall?
But wasn't that earmarked?
At the $2.3 million, but it included teacher and assistant principal,
in the supplement calculation. The calculation that we provided to you during the budget workshop was slightly over $2 million, just including teachers.
Okay, so of the 1.1 million extra that you have approved, how much of that will be going to supplemental pay?
Our understanding is of the $1,095,000 in fixed costs that we're funding 100% of, this additional money to the school system, we believe there's $140,000 in there for what they're calling hard-to-fill position, math, science, and exceptional children for a 5% supplement, right, Brian?
That's correct.
Well, if we as a commission decide to give the school system more money, is there any mechanism to where we can say, this is allocated, you must spend it for supplementals?
You can do a type of, it's not a line item budget, but it's a categorical budget with the school system, but there's still very limited oversight control even with that type of budget.
That's basically my point. The thing is that I appreciate all of you coming here and telling us this, but you really need to talk to the school board as well. I mean, it's a case of us giving the money, and I forget who the speaker was that made the case that if we underfund them, then they're subject to the same kind of problems we have with unfunded mandates coming out of Raleigh, and gosh only knows we have a few of them. Right now, as I think we pay for the equivalent of 53 teachers out of the monies we give. Would anybody in this room stand up and say, well, let's do away with those 53 teachers and give extra supplemental pay to all the others? I don't think one person would be in favor of that, and I don't think one board member up here would say that either. The problem is that we're facing a 3-cent tax increase. Eastern Pines, the district I live in, is on a 2.75%. You saw that there's a 0.3% for the industrial tax, an increase there. So right there is 6 cents. Now, all of a sudden, if we wanted to get another $2.3 million in additional monies to go to the school, what's that, another 2 pennies? Scott?
Pardon me?
Isn't that another 2 pennies, 2.3 million more if we gave it to the school and they put every penny of it towards supplemental?
Yes.
Okay, so it's
equivalent.
8 cents. That's over a 10% tax increase. I can afford that. I'll bet you everybody on this board up here can pretty much afford it. Well, I shouldn't say that. There's a couple of them up here that don't have deep pockets. So I apologize for that. But I can afford it. But there are a lot of people in Pitt County that are in fixed income. And they don't have a 10% increase.
I'm one, I'll take it.
Tom, I don't want to interrupt you, but just to give you the number, we were looking back at the budget time. There are 257 positions being funded with county money. And some are custodial, some are administrators, some
Teachers,
are teacher
maintenance, technology.
assistants, some are teachers, some are technology. So that is a choice of the school system, not our, I mean, the money goes there. They have, in fact, the school is the only major department that we fund that once the money in the budget is approved, it can be spent anyway, not directly related to the budget that is presented to us. Social services, health department have to stick to sheriff, they have to stick to their budget. And I'm not saying the school system doesn't, but a lot of educators are not aware of that. So once we allot the money, it's really up to the school how it's spent. And I think that's what Tom is saying. I just wanted to let you hear that figure.
It is my point, and it's not that we're unsympathetic. And I'll go back to my daughter again. You teachers are a strange breed. My daughter is 9 hours away from being able to be a pharmacist. As a pharmacist, she could walk out and make $85,000, bingo, right out of the bat. But she loves teaching, as most of you do, or all of you do. You wouldn't be here.
Respectfully, please understand why we leave the profession here in Pitt County. That's why, exactly, because we are not valued And we want to be valued. We want to be in the classroom. This is our passion. This is our commitment. This is what we want to do. And I know I'm speaking out of order.
Yes.
But really, I understand what you're saying, but it's very emotional. But love and emotion doesn't pay the bills. What pays the bills is our salaries. And if 20 minutes down the road, there is a better salary, I don't want to leave because this is my county. This is the place that I love. This is where my community is. But at the end of the day, it's about dollars and cents, just like you're saying. So it's the same for us as it is for you. It's about dollars and cents. And we want to be here because we are part of this community, but we are not valued as part of this community.
Well, I take exception to
Let me
that. I do
Tom,
believe-
before you start, when we had the opportunity for a public hearing, and I respect the fact and your feelings, please, but we have to move on, and we would appreciate not speaking from the floor, if you don't mind. Tom?
But having said that, Beth,
Yes.
is their point's well made.
And I'm not saying her point's
There's
not
not a
well
person on
made.
this board that doesn't recognize that value to teachers. But I think you're making a misjudgment if you think that you're not valued. The majority of the citizens in this country, in this county, you are valued. There may be some that don't feel that way. There's always some that are going to feel the opposite of the way you feel. But in any case, I don't think that we should phrase anything that we do that's going to somehow become a responsibility of the Pitt County Commissioners to supplement supplemental pay for teachers, because it'll be a slippery slope. We create a line item, and I guarantee you it will become our responsibility henceforth.
Okay.
I have nothing else to
Thank you. We've heard from all the commissioners, and at this time, I would like to hear what is the desire of the board toward the budget at this time.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the budget as presented.
Okay. There's been a motion made to approve the budget as presented. Is there a second?
I'd like to second that.
Okay.
Substantive motion.
Okay.
Substantive motion to put the vote of consideration of the budget on our next regularly scheduled meeting to allow time for the commissioners to consider the comments made this evening. And then there's also a matter in the Eastern Pines Fire District that's before the commission as a part and parcel of the budget to consider a tax increase to allow members of that community to get together and discuss with both their fire rescue and EMS personnel about that proposed tax increase so that they're afforded more ample opportunity to become informed before this body acts on it.
Okay, is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Okay, that motion has been seconded, and Madam Attorney, we vote on the
You vote on the
second
substitute
motion
motion
first.
Yes.
Okay, all in favor of the motion made by Commissioner Nunley, if you'll please vote. Whichever direction you're going in. I forget which one.
Is it 2 to no?
So
So-
it's 1 for yes and 2 for no. If you press 1, that would serve to postpone the vote until your next meeting. If you vote 2 for no, then that fails and you would move to the first motion.
Okay, 2 would move us to the first motion.
That motion fails.
Okay, then we go back to the first motion, which was to approve the budget as it stands.
If you'll give me 1 minute to clear your
Okay,
screen.
that'll be fine.
Madam Chair, prior to vote, will it, if I may,
Yes.
it seems to serve a contrary public policy interest to vote on adopting a budget ordinance directly after hearing from the public. I believe this what we do at the commission, while legally obligated to hold public hearings, those public hearings ought to serve more than just a procedural hurdle toward clearing a vote on the budget. And it is my position that regardless of where we stand on each position presented this evening in the budget, that we consider it at our next seated meeting, that we do so out of respect for a responsible governmental process that respects public input, that is open and transparent, and makes clear, informed decisions after hearing from our public, and not directly thereafter.
Okay, thank you.
We're already in the
We need to
voting process.
continue on with our vote.
We're already in the voting process.
Yes.
Right.
This vote is to approve the budget
This vote is to approve the budget.
as
Yes.
presented, or yes, 1 for yes, 2 for no. And that motion fails.
Okay, so at this point, do we have to set another time to come back?
At this time, by default, you could,
Just a moment, please.
your next meeting date will be Monday, June the 17th at 6 PM. The budget could be reconsidered at that time, or a different time if the board so desired to
Is the
schedule a
motion
meeting.
in order? Madam Chairman?
Yes, ma'am.
I move that we adjourn.
Okay, and the budget will be coming back
the
at
next
the,
time.
what, June 17th?
June 17th, 6 PM.
June 17th.
So moved.
So I don't, unless you wanted, and you may not wish to do commissioners' comments, just you've adopted a budget, an agenda that has that. If you choose not to, you don't have to.
Okay,
We have a motion and a second
all right.
to adjourn.
So we need to vote
What are we doing now?
on the motion to adjourn. We have
Voting
a
on your motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, please vote.
I really want to talk to those folks.
I had already cast my vote. I would have voted with you guys, but I had already